Hi, my name is Brescia.
And my name is Shaquita.
And welcome to Searching for Freedom. So today we kind of just want to go off and talk a little bit about how our relationships, or if our relationships with our fathers have affected our relationship with God. And just what your thought process is on that. Like, has your relationship with your father affected your relationship with God, the way you view him, or the way that you interact with him?
That's a good question. I remember when you first brought the topic to me, I was doing a lot. I was being extra.
Girl, I just want to lay out here on the floor. Like,
because my father passed away in 2012, so I really much don't talk about my dad, in the present tense. Of course, I think about him and I miss him, but when comparing my dad to God and my relationship and things like that, it's like, now that's touchy. That can definitely be touchy. For me, I would say yes. My view of my dad and how I view God has definitely played a part in my life. My dad, he was a good dad. He wasn't a bad dad. He was my hero. He was my gentle giant, because my dad was tall. So he was, and then my dad was emotional. So that was good for me to see as a man. He was very vulnerable. But at the same time, he was kind of, I would say, he held a lot of things in, So he held a lot of hurt in. He held a lot of pain in, even though he was vulnerable and he would cry with me, but I didn't get a lot of consistency or stability from my dad. So when I first started getting a relationship with God, I found myself not trusting him. Not trusting him to protect me, not trusting him to be a person of his word, not trusting him to always be there when I need him.
No, I definitely get what you're saying. Like you, my dad, he's amazing, superhero. But there are different things in our relationship, although he is there and he is welcoming to any conversation, if there is any confrontation or any issues, we may not necessarily talk about it. Right. Our family doesn't always talk about everything that's going on, and it kind of just has set that mold when I first started my relationship with God, or my walk. And it made me feel like I had to just figure it out myself, and then come to him and come to God once it was already figured out, instead of sitting down, talking about it. God, this is how I'm feeling. This is I didn't know how to verbalize. I didn't know how to process that, because I had only experienced that in relationships, not with my family or with my dad. So in that, it kind of just made me very hesitant to even think that was an option, to be honest.
I can also say, for my dad, you touched on a key thing, communication. I don't think that I couldn't talk to my dad, because he was very understanding. He could tell when something was off, especially when it was about relationships, I guess, because he had been hurt. So if he felt like, his baby girl has had her heart broken, he was definitely like, oh, come on, I'll cry with you. And he did, and he did. But when it came to more life valuable lessons, I didn't get a lot of that from my dad. So it was almost like, not that God couldn't teach me nothing, I just felt like, because my relationship with my dad, even though we were close, we almost felt distant when it came to words. So
no, I completely understand what you're saying. I remember one time, there are so many moments where my dad has come in and he has been what everyone would think your dad is, just protecting his baby girl. And I remember one time I was in middle school and I was getting bullied, and I have no idea why it hurt me, but this little girl, she was calling me, out of all things, a moose.
Never heard that.
Girl, literally.
I have a child a moose.
I have no idea why, but it hurt me so bad, and it's the only time that happened. And I remember one time I was just in my room and I was crying. It was one of those ugly cries where it's you're just you can't talk.
So you came straight home.
Girl, well, no, this had been happening for a while.
Okay.
But it was just one of those days where I was feeling overwhelmed by it. And my dad was in my room, and he was just talking to me about it, and he made me feel so at peace with it. Like, after that, like, it didn't bother me anymore. Like, she would say it the next day, and I'm just like, okay. Like, it didn't bother me, but, like, he showed so much compassion and so much love in that moment. And, like, when I think about situations like that, like, when I compare, like, not saying that I tried to compare my dad to God or anything like that, but he was my first representation. So it's just like, okay, I know that my father is this. I know that God can be this. Like, when I first started my walk, and it's just like, okay, I'm able to recognize those things, but I also had to had to shut off those comparing thoughts, because there's also moments where we're human, and where I may have felt like my dad could have done something differently, and I may have been hurt by a situation. It's just like, okay, now God, because I can't trust the person or the people who have raised me here, I don't know how to trust that you are who you say you are as well. So it was a learning process when I started this walk, because it's like, God, you are who you say you are. You're not man that you shall lie. So comparing, or my relationship with my dad, I had to realize that it's not the same.
I agree. And then with me talking about my dad, I know one of my, and it's not a regret, but I do think about it. You know, I was 22 when my dad passed away. So I did not have a relationship with God. So I really didn't have that relationship that I wanted, that I'm building now with my mom. I always think about, you know, with me walking with God, how our relationship would be. Yeah, how it would have been. And so I always like, I wish he could see me. Like, my dad, like, he was very proud of me. He's like, my baby's smart, she's intelligent, she does good in school. So he was very proud of me, and he could depend on me if he needed anything. And when he passed away, I was definitely there for him. But yeah, definitely. So I feel like there's like a gap, you know, when it comes to our relationship, what it was, what it could have been, and how it played a part in my relationship with God.
You know, the crazy thing is, like, you are thinking how it could have been, and I feel like with me, it's like, okay, try to take those baby steps, because God is showing me areas of growth in my relationship with my dad, with my family in general. And it's just like trusting him to do what he says he's gonna do, and for me to get out the way. So it's like, even that comparison is just like, how good is our Father God that he wants to rebuild the relationships with our Father here, even if they're not here, just healing the memories or situation that you may have been in. And it's just like, it's no comparison. Like, it truly isn't. And it's just like, I don't know, like, it's crazy just thinking about it. Like, my father versus my father, like, goodness.
What's one thing that, when you think about God, and I know we can't squeeze God out of people, but what's one thing that you learned from God the Father that you didn't get from your father?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm gonna have to talk to my dad before this video goes up. I don't know if I want to even do this, because I'm not ready for those conversations. Goodness, I feel like God, we know that he takes what the enemy meant for evil and turns it for his good. And there's been a situation when I was younger where, I don't know if this is gonna go in there. Okay. I truly don't. But there was a situation when I was younger where I felt unimportant to my dad. I felt like I was no longer his baby girl. And with that, God, because he is amazing and he is who he is, that's one of the ways that he speaks to me. He calls me his baby girl, and he loves on me, and he's healing me in that way. But he's shown me, although my dad has never gone anywhere, of course, and it was just internal feelings about not feeling like I'm his baby girl anymore, God is just showing me in a different way that I'm his baby girl and he's never going to go anywhere, that no one can change that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful process. I feel like he wants to show me that with my relationship with my dad as well. But that's definitely something that he's taught me, that has been different. What about you?
I was thinking as you was talking, because I was like, I'm gonna be next. I learned how to be myself. Not that I couldn't be myself with my dad, but I did feel like that it was an image I had to portray. Or but with God, I felt like I can be flawed and still be okay. And not that when I think about it now, I'm sure my dad would have accepted all of me. Like for instance, and it's kind of, I don't know, like my dad, he used to always want me and my siblings to be open with him, be this person with him, be that, like whatever it is. If you're smoking, if you're drinking, like come to me, like let me, let's talk about it. But it was kind of hard when my dad was doing those things and I'm not doing those things. So my dad is like, he wanted to make sure there was a open door, like we knew that we didn't have to hide anything from him.
Transparency.
Right, transparency. So one day he was like, "Here, Queen," and I'm like, "Dad, I don't do that." And he was like, "Well, I'm sure you're doing something, because when I was your age, I was doing something, And I was like, "No, Dad, I'm not doing any of that. I don't like." For me, like the Holy Spirit just convicted me at a young age. So when people was doing things, it was like, "Don't you do that." And I didn't know where their voice was coming from, but I always felt convicted to do things like that. And my dad was like, and I never forget it. He was like, "Oh, so you're lame."
No.
Yeah, he was like, "So you're what they call a lame," and I was like, "Okay."
How did you feel about that? Like, what was your thought process internally with that?
I didn't really think about it. I mean, I felt good, because I'm like, for me, I was proud of myself. Like, even though this is what everybody is doing around me, I'm not doing it. But it was like, okay, Dad. I guess this is a part of me that you'll never understand or maybe never know. But that person, I could be that person with God. So I could be me. And still, I can be accepted.
Not feeling misunderstood.
Or I don't have to do what the world is doing to be accepted.
No, definitely. Like, I feel like I can bring anything. And, like, although my dad is opening to any conversation, like you know him. Like, he's down to hear anything. Like, he will sit there and he wants to communicate. But because that hasn't been something that we've always done, I wouldn't know where to start. It feels uncomfortable. And it's like my dad, when we were younger, like he was in the home, but he worked a lot. So we naturally went to my mom to ask for things. It's so unfamiliar to sit down and just have those conversations about any and everything, because it wasn't the way we were raised. But with God, it's kind of like, okay, like I knew him as a child, but I didn't know him with my own relationship. So now as I'm getting to know him, it's like we started off on that foot. So it's like, it's not like unlearned behavior, I don't have to unlearn how to not talk to you just so I can learn how to,
Right.
So I don't know, like it's different. This is a topic, man.
It's a topic.
Jesus.
So and not, again, we're not comparing God to our dad, but just as far as the representation, what are some similarities that when you think about your dad and when you think about God?
The love. Like, I definitely, like, the love is consistent. Like, although we internalize things and I've internalized things as I was growing up, but the love has always been consistent. Like, it's always been there, no matter how I internalized it. Like, if I call, he's always right there. And same with God. Like, I feel like if I call, like, you're just gonna drop what you're doing to be there. And that's something that I feel like I'm able to see a representation of God through my dad with. And it's just like, my dad, he will come, like, how, I feel like it's a little weird, but it's like, internally, how we are broken and something needs to be fixed, I go to my father. It's like, God, fix me, help me, put me back together. And here, physical, it's like, hey, Dad, I need something fixed. Like, can you put up my curtains? Can you? And it's even not just like those physical things, even when it's just like where there has been a lot of emotional stuff that's going on, my dad is right there. Even if he doesn't know what to say, he's just there holding me as I'm crying. He's just there to listen. And it's like, he will be the fixer if I allow him to. And it's like, I feel like in areas like that, I see God through him in those moments. It's just me being willing to, because it's unfamiliar.
Okay.
What about you?
Oh, for me, I would say my dad wasn't afraid to call me his own. Like, of all his, like, all of us, he always made us all, like, he had a way of making us all feel like we were his favorites. You see my eyes?
Why do we all do that? Like, all of us. Like, I wonder if that's every sibling group, because it's like we will literally, no, I'm her favorite. I'm the favorite.
But he had a way of doing that, and he would always sit us all down, and he would say, you know, how can I not love you? How can I abandon you and know that you're my flesh and blood? Like, he would always make it, and he was tall, he was 6'7", so
my security.
Yeah, it was very secure. It was very secure, and I was a proud child walking behind my dad, because my dad had 5 kids. So this tall guy come walking through the door, and then all these kids come, and we just like,
Something else, like that protection, like that's something else that, like, I truly feel God's presence through my dad as well, especially because he was in the military. It's just like, when my dad's around, like, bruh, like, I feel invincible. Like, that's definitely like a peace. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. Like, and similar to God, it's just like, sometimes you may feel like the world is upside down, but it's like, when you feel his presence into the room, nothing else matters.
Nothing matters.
Like, it's everything that I was worried about is gone. It doesn't matter at this moment, because my Father is here. You know, it's like, you don't have to be concerned. I don't even need you to fix that tire anymore. My dad's on his way. We got this. You know, and it's just like situations like that. It's like that protector. We're able to see God in those moments. And it's just like, it's now having a personal relationship with God. It's just like, I see how you've been looking out for us. Like, I see in those little ways how you have been showing us your love. Although we're not perfect, although our parents aren't perfect, you still shine through them.
I agree. I was just thinking, as we were talking about our dads versus God, it was like, we've learned through God that humans are flawed, and that includes our parents. I know my mom and dad, they were teenage parents, so they did the best that they could. And the older I got, I learned that your parents are not perfect. People are not perfect, and it's okay to forgive them. You know, they did the best that they could with what they had.
I don't necessarily want to say that we are comparing our Father God to our Father here on earth, but we do realize that the way that we were brought up, the relationships that we've had, and the people that's come in and out of our life, they affect how we see God, how we are transparent to God, what we allow God to do for us, because it's just our willingness. Like, God is willing and able to do all and everything, but it's our willingness to be a participant in that, our willingness to have faith in him. But our relationships with other people sometimes can hinder that.
I agree. And then and as you was talking, I was thinking about maybe someone who's watching this video, and maybe your dad is here on earth still living, and you're able to still build that relationship with him. I would say continue to approach the throne and ask God to provide that opportunity. I'm not sure what may have happened, but you know, you only get one parent, you know, one dad, one mom, and so if there's an opportunity to fix it, definitely go for it. And if you've never met your dad, mainly we're talking about fathers, if you've never met your dad, you don't know who your dad is, God is he's still your father. He's still your dad. He still can be all that you need.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching another one of our videos and for allowing us to be very transparent on the YouTubes. See you next time.
See you next time.
Hey guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Smash that notification bell so you won't miss another one of
So we don't necessarily do. Words are hard. Look at us. They did the thing.
We turned out pretty good, you know.
God was looking out.
Shout out to you, Mom. R.I.P. Dad.
I can't with you.